Say hi. Say hi, everybody. Good evening, friends. We have already received 4 calls tonight, 4 Facebook messages from different people with problems with water getting into places in their house that it should not be getting into. So a couple things that you can do right off the bat if you've got water coming in that will help us diagnose it, figure it out, solve the problem, make sure it doesn't happen again. First of all, document, figure out what direction the wind is blowing from. And Tracy's going to get in here on this Facebook Live, and she's going to put a link to our YouTube channel down below so that you can. We have all kinds of information in our exterior water leaks playlist. We have information on our roofing playlist and a couple of other places that we have a vinyl siding playlist. There's a number of different ways that water can get into your house. And one of the first questions that I'm going to ask when I come out to help diagnose this is which direction was the wind blowing from? I mean, we know we're getting 20 to 40 mile wind. What was the wind speed tonight when you looked?
It was gusts of 40 something.
Gust of 40 something. So if you have an insurance claim, and insurance, they don't want slow damage over time. They want sudden and accidental. So we had an event tonight, Tuesday, January 9th we're at, and they want to know what the weather was like that night, and I want to know which direction the wind was blowing, because that helps me figure out this is, if it's blowing from a direction it doesn't normally blow. I know that one of the rental houses that I have, if the wind blows from the east, there's some capping on some windows there that the previous owners did that wasn't very effective, and that allows water to get into the door. So I know that we have to get out there and redo that capping on that window to fix it. So you've got a water leak at your house. You're one of these 4 people who called us tonight or sent us a Facebook message here, I'm sorry, and or you've got something coming in. What do you want to know? I want to know what direction the wind is blowing from. We're going to try to get an aerial view off of Google Satellite and figure out which corner of your house, and what Tracy just sent to somebody was she just numbered the 7 corners of the house and said, where is it? And I said, I'm betting you it's number 6. And it was. I was right. Just from the pictures they showed us from the inside of how much water, they had copious amounts of water coming in on the ceiling. So I need to know which corner of the house it's in. I can get a satellite view. I can see what your roof lines look like. And in her case, she had a 2nd floor roof over a 1st floor roof. There's probably a gutter there dropping a downspout onto the 1st floor roof. That's never a good situation. If you've got a downspout draining onto your roof, on your 1st floor roof, that's just putting the Grand Canyon across your shingles. And 15 years after that roof's put on, you're going to get a leak, if not before, unless you're just really unlucky about where the joints and those shingles line up, especially if they run it sideways, because shingles shed water downhill, but not left to right very well. So if the downspouts running sideways, it's going to leak. It's going to happen. So we want to get that hard pipe down into your lower gutter. Maybe it's a roof-to-wall interface problem. Maybe it's you've got step flash that goes up the wall, from the shingles up the wall, and the step flashing got in the wrong order. We have a whole playlist on a mystery stucco leak that was all about that. Prior to the year 2000, they did not put Housewrap on houses before they put the vinyl siding up. And so if your house was built between 2000 and say 2009, that's about when the code, they added code to say, well, you have to have it on the living space, but not the gable attics. And then I think in 2009 is when they said you had to have Tyvek everywhere. Norm could tell you for sure because he was building houses back then. But the code changed as they realized that, oh wait, vinyl siding has these gaps and wind can blow rain in there, and that's not good. So you can hit our YouTube channel down below, and all these playlists are there. Click that, subscribe to that, check, figure that stuff out, send us stars, whatever, have fun. Leave some comments down below. Ask us questions about your roof. So if you don't have house wrap behind the siding, and I have a whole video of this on the exterior renovation we did with new windows and siding down in New London, the step flashing keeps the roof water from getting into the house. But what about the water that gets behind the siding? It's going to come down that plywood sheathing, and if there's not house wrap mechanically layered over in front of the step flashing, the water can run down behind the step flashing. One of the other places we've had lots of common problems is in the corners. So if you've got a dormer upstairs and it comes down, and then the face of that, and that's all on a roof, and you've got an outside corner post there, I've seen that corner post get dug down into the shingles and blocks water, and it dams up and it backs up until it finds a hole and it drops. That's one place that we've had leaks. We've had the layers be wrong. We've had people put house wrap on first and then step flashing in front of it, and so the water's running down the house wrap, but still getting behind the step flashing into the house. I had one house where a woman hired I said on TV, window menu replacement company, and she got replacement windows when she needed new construction windows. And they just took a vibe tool and they just cut the nail fins, put the window in, and then spray foamed. And so I'm outside looking at this metal capping they did to hide that cut job, the crap job they did. And all they've got is spray foam. And I told you, I said in 5 years, this is going to be swelling up. You better have a certificate of insurance for them. Call your insurance company. Get after them now, because this is going to be a problem. And sure enough, I think she called a couple months ago, 2 months ago.
2 years after.
2 years after it happened, she called us back with those challenges. So lots of videos on our YouTube channel. But if it's raining right now and you have a leak, what can you do? Well, step one, figure out which direction the wind's blowing from, because I want to know that. Step two, if it's really, really, really bad, take a pencil or screwdriver, punch a hole where that water stain is showing up, and put it. We're gonna have to replace the drywall anyways. Put a bucket underneath it and drain that drywall. Don't let it just collect up there and spread and create a bigger damage area. Punch a hole in it, get a bucket, get a kiddie pool, get a tote, get something underneath there to catch that water. You're not gonna go outside and fix anything. You're not gonna put a tarp over the whole side of your house in the rain when it's blowing at 40 miles an hour. It's just not gonna happen. So let the water's coming in. Let's keep it from spreading to broad places. Let's keep it from going down the wall. And give it a drain hole. Wherever it's pooling, it's going to be the low spot. Punch a hole in the drywall, use a screwdriver, direct that water into a bucket so you keep that water from spreading to 15 different places if it's on a ceiling. The drywall's probably on the ceiling, probably has to be replaced anyways. Okay, so that's roof leaks. That's roof-to-wall interface leaks. That might be a dormer leak. And in the other video, we have a link to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/coatbuilt. Just @coatbuilt. You can search for it. We have details in there on a bunch of different playlists, roofing, siding playlists, exterior water leaks playlists, different places that you can go through. And if you show me what's going on at your house, take a satellite view. What?
Pipe collars.
Oh, pipe collars are a big one. If your roof is between 8 and 15 years old, your pipe collar could be bad. That's where the plumbing boots come through the roof. If you had a Coke bottle as a kid and you put a straw in it, you put your finger over the straw and you lifted it up and the water stayed in the straw, that's because it wasn't vented. And those plumbing vents, when you have them working properly, allow water into your plumbing system. So when you flush the toilet, everything drains properly. Well, those rubber collars that go around there are called pipe collars. We do have a sacrificial boot that we can preemptively, if your roof is 8, 10 years old and you want to save this before it becomes a problem, and we can put a sacrificial boot, an extra piece of rubber over that existing one, so that the sun beats on that instead of on the actual pipe collar. Because the actual pipe collar goes bad, I got to disassemble your shingles, take your roof system apart, get a new collar, put it in there. If we catch it before that goes bad, I can put in what's called a sacrificial boot. It's just an extra piece of rubber, and that takes the abuse of the sun's rays, of the winds and the rain and everything else, and extends the life by, say, another 10 years. And then in 10 years, we come back, we take each one of those off. It's a 1-hour service call. I put a bunch of them back on, and you're good for another 10 years. And you never have to, whenever we do a new roof, I put a sacrificial boot on every pipe collar. But if your pipe collars are already leaking, they're probably cracked. And I can show pictures of those. We have those on our roofing playlist video over on YouTube channel. We can take them out, put them in new ones, and depending how much life is left in your roof, if you're 20 years into your roof, we don't need to put the sacrificial boots on, because by the time the pipe collars go, the shingles are going to be replaced. 30 years is the max on a roof typically. So don't believe the marketing hype that says you can get a 50-year roof. They don't exist, in my opinion. And there's lots of other people that tend to agree with me on that. So, all right. So what else? Where else might you have water in your house? Well, we actually get a lot of calls right now for water coming in door. Let's do basements first. Water coming in the basements. So the biggest thing that you can do is look at your downspouts next to your house. Do we do any work in? I can't read the rest of that. Sorry.
I'll go here.
I think it said Middletown, Delaware. All I saw was an MDD, so it might be Middletown, Delaware. But so our service area, we'll answer that real quick here. Our service area is Southern Chester County. And if you were to look at a map, to the west, you would see Route 472 that runs up towards Quarryville. To the north, you would see Route 30 across through Coatesville. To the east, you would see Route 202 in Route 202 from Westchester down. And down in Delaware, you would see Route Kirkwood Highway to the south. So that's kind of our box that we like to stay in with, basically within 20-25 minutes of Cochranville, Pennsylvania. And further than that, we'll look at pictures and try to help point you in a direction, but we typically don't travel much further than that, unless it's like a one-off thing. Anyways, water in your basement. Why does water get in your basements? 9 times out of 10, it's a downspout gutter-related issue. Either your gutters are overflowing because they're full of leaves, and they're dumping water right at the edge of the wall of your house, and it's soaking down into the soil and making its way into the basement. Or you have a downspout issue where the downspout comes down at the corner and it's not piped away from the house, and it's just dumping all that water right in the corner of your basement, right in the corner of your yard, and it's soaking into the soil. And of course, they had to excavate the soil for the foundation of your house, and when they backfilled it, they may not have tamped it. So that soil is actually softer, it's less dense, it's less compact, and it's an easier place, path of least resistance. It's an easier spot for water to travel to. So Sometimes that happens there. So what can you do? Well, you could do a rock garden. You can put some plastic down on the 5 or 6 feet next to your house, put rocks in it, protect the plastic from the ultraviolet sun, and then that helps move that water away. The other thing we typically recommend, and we have a whole video on this, is we do an underground system. I get a trencher, and we trench all of your downspouts at least 20, 25 feet away from your house. I put a drain box in. I put a dry well underneath of that. We have that drain box on the surface, so any extra that the dry well can't handle, it can bubble out onto the surface and leave, and go from there. So getting the downspouts away from the house is a big thing. You can go to Lowe's and you can buy 20 feet of black corrugated pipe and do that yourself as a temporary measure, and then have us come in and get you a price for the underground system. Nina writes, water coming in my downstairs windows, brand new roof siding and windows. Downstairs windows. So when I think of a basement window, I often think of like a hopper window inside of one of those little metal window wells. Is the window well filling with water? That water's coming in that way, or is it just being driven by the rain and maybe the installer didn't get it waterproofed real nice? I've seen people had to put sump pumps in those dry wells and pack them up. So if they're not in a window well, then they're just exposed. So we got to see is water somehow getting into the top when someone replaces a window. I should have brought a piece of paper. I could draw this stuff. When someone replaces a window, you have in theory it should be a nail fin around the window if it's a new construction window, except in very rare cases like brick where you might use a replacement. But in vinyl siding and things, there's a nail fin. The top of that nail fin needs to be sealed to the wall, and then the house wrap comes down over the front of that, so water always gets shed to the outside. If you're in block or cinder block or stucco or brick, then there's no nail fin. It's recessed into the opening, and they seal it. Regular window counter. Okay, Nina, take a picture in the daylight, obviously. Take me a couple pictures from the outside. A nice close-up of the window, but then get way back and show me the whole like grass to sky. Water's getting behind the siding too. Okay, so we have to address the bigger issue. So get me a nice wide shot, corner to corner, ground to sky. If you go to our website, copebuilt.com, and click on the Our Process button, and it's like step 5 is virtual estimates, I think it is. There's a video there that explains what kind of pictures we're looking for. And take a look at that and send us a couple pictures from in the daylight to our messenger here on Facebook, and we can absolutely look at that and see if we can take a couple guesses as to what's going on. We'd be happy to help. Super, Nina, what town are you in? Are you local to us here? Which local town are you based in? So what you said here is cool though. It's getting down behind the siding. So if it's getting behind the siding, when the windows were done, let's see, regular window, you had brand new roof, siding, and windows. So well, they should be responsible for it if they did the siding too. So we can work on figuring that out. All right. So even if you're not New York, no problem. Send me a picture of the outside of your house, and I will send you the relevant YouTube videos that may help you. So if you go to our YouTube channel /CopeBuilt, you will find a video in there from a total exterior renovation, I think is what it's called. And if Tracy's watching here with me, she can put a link down in the comments to that. But we walk you through step by step a whole exterior, window siding, the whole thing. And I have a couple that really detail how those are supposed to be flashed at the top of the windows. And yes, water gets behind siding. We know that. That's what the house wrap is for. And if the house wrap is mechanically layered properly, then it's all good. And if it's not, or if they didn't seal something right, or if they didn't back roll that black zip tape, then we'll have to figure that out. So, but send me some pictures. I don't care if you're in New York. I'd be happy to help answer a couple questions and just try to point you in a direction and give you some leverage. Hey, contractor dude who did my house, come watch this guy's videos. Or if your lawyer needs some help, if you're going that route, then we've got some information there that you can use for education. Okay, so that's Nina's and her windows in her basement. So we talked about downspouts, gutters, getting that water piped away from your foundation wall. I've seen doors leak in 40-mile-an-hour winds. I've seen the weather seal on doors leak. And what my architect says is we build houses, not submarines. And when you got 40-mile-an-hour wind coming in, sometimes you are going to have a little incidental water get through between the door and that little weather strip where the door closes against. Then that can happen. There are little foam cushions you can put in the lower corners to help with that. And sometimes that works, and sometimes you just need to put a storm door in that particular location because it's getting just a brunt of the wind crushing in on that side. If the wind's, but I always ask you when I come out to your house, which direction was the wind blowing from when you had a leak? Because that helps me figure out, well, is it getting into the J channel on the window? Is it coming in through the gaps in the siding because of how they're lapped? What other things do we need to look at? So we talked about basements. We talked about door leaks. I've had door leaks where they didn't get the head flashing right. It wasn't layered correctly with the house wrap. What was that one video? It's like they did it halfway right. They had tar paper, and the tar paper had gotten ripped. And it wasn't sealed, so water was coming down behind the siding and getting into the top of that ripped tar paper and getting in. That was a relatively short video, and then the door was not level, and so I made a bet that it was running to the side that was low, and sure enough it was. It was getting in, hitting the top of the door jamb, running that way. All right, so that's basements. Decks, where your deck interfaces with your house. So what's supposed to happen, if you remember that the deck that collapsed in New Jersey with all firefighters on it, from the pictures, from what I could see, it looked like the ledge board just ripped off the house, and it's probably because there was no Z flashing over that ledge board that bolts onto the house. And they used to just gun them on with 3-inch gun nails, and nowadays we have to through bolt them. There's these butterfly brackets that we use some all thread rod, and we bolt that through. So we have a video playlist where we showed a brand new screen porch, and it was like 8 or 9 videos that we put up. And Riley, you're making a lot of noise, kid. You really are. Yes, you're making a lot of noise. We're trying to do a video. Here. So we went through exactly how that ledge board is supposed to go on, and then I actually recapped that again on the siding window exterior renovation playlist that we did with those Anderson Woodwrights, and we walked through very extensively how that Z flashing is supposed to look. And I do like doing that with the plastic product, the prefab, whenever it's possible. Rather than putting aluminum on it, because aluminum can react with the pressure-treated lumber, and that's what you don't want that happening. So it's important to make sure when you hire a deck contractor that you're getting somebody that understands how to flash that to the house, because that's a spot for water to get in. And if you put a deck on after, so a lot of times we see this, somebody has siding on their house, and they put the ledge board right over the siding, and they crush the siding. Water that gets behind the siding is trapped back there. It doesn't have a way to get out, and now you're funneling it into that wall. So, I know you want to play. Say hi. Say hi. So that's a no-no. If someone's putting a deck on, you need to take the siding down, put the ledge board in correctly, flash it correctly, and then make whatever adjustments need to be made on that stuff. So that's a common thing that we see where decks cause the leak. And we had one house, it was like $10,000 or $20,000 worth of, well, we actually had to take the deck off of your house in order to be able to fix this. And it was a very sad situation, but other places that things leak. So we have a whole video on why is the top of my window leaking. It's actually my #1 video on YouTube. It's got the most views. We've gotten calls from California, Rhode Island, Florida, West Virginia, people wanting to know if I would travel to come fix that exact same issue that they have. And what it was they didn't get the mechanical layers right. They had a window above that was allowing water into the J channel. They didn't have these little kickouts. It's not kick-out flashing, but these little metal pieces of flashing to take any water coming off of the corners of the window where the J channel is and moving it into the drip lip of the next piece of siding. So there's a lot of deficiencies on that, and we were able to record a whole video going very detailed into how we fixed that one. So we talked about roof-to-wall interfaces and Tyvek. And I guess the last piece is if you have a sudden and an accidental issue, and you really got to be careful what words you say. You don't tell your insurance company I had a flood in my basement if it's not really a flood. You had an accidental discharge of water, I think is what the public adjuster told me one time, because that's covered, whereas a flood in your basement may not be covered. And it depends on your policy and whether you an HO1 or HO3 or an HO5 or a DP1, DP3, DP5, depending on what type of property you're insuring. There's all this stuff. I am not a licensed public adjuster. I can't tell you how to negotiate with your insurance company. I will not negotiate with your insurance company. I don't like playing their games. It stresses me out. It's not fun. So I have a couple of public adjusters and a professional estimator that I will recommend to you. I will refer you to, and you can kind of fight that battle. But in an event like tonight where we had an inch of rain in a very short period of time and 40-mile-an-hour winds, that is a sudden and an accidental event in my opinion. And that might potentially be a homeowner's claim. And they are probably not, in most cases, going to fix what caused the leak. If it was a pipe collar, if it was a bad flashing situation. They're only going to pay for the resulting damage in most cases. And again, not a licensed public adjuster. Go talk to your professionals. I typically recommend if you're going to go straight to your insurance company, call your agent. and do a hypothetical with them. Don't call the 800 claims number, because your agent may be able to coach you on the right things to say and not to say. And I have lots of friends that can help point you that. If you have a massive water problem or a backed up drain, and backed up drains are a whole different category of insurance loss. I'm pretty good friends with the guys over here at ServPro in multiple franchises here locally, Kennett Square, Oxford. I think they've got the Quarryville location. They've got an Elkton location. They're all over the place. But we can get you on the phone with one of those guys, and they can help do an immediate water cleanup. But if you've got active water coming in right now, I just tell you take a screwdriver, punch a hole in the drywall. You put a bucket underneath it so you can collect it, so that water doesn't sit on top of the drywall and just spread ridiculously. You want to get that contained. Did you drop it? She dropped it. Where'd it go? I know. It's terrible. What are we going to do now? Let's see. Where else does water get into a house? You've got garages. So slabs. I've seen this situation where somebody has a slab, and maybe it was intended to be a brick slab, and they were going to bring brick up the outside of the house, and then they didn't do it. So now you have this concrete that sticks out 3 inches beyond the wall of your house, and water lands. Thanks, Riley. Water lands. Sorry about that, folks. You just all kinds of excited, aren't you? Yes, you are. Lands on that brick ledge and then runs under the wall. So how do you fix that? Well, in now 2 cases, what we've had to do is come up with an angled piece of wood, like a 4x4 that we cut the side off of, and we make a piece of flashing that comes down, out, diagonally down, straight down, and out again, and out over the edge. So any water that comes down behind the siding, that Housewrap forces it on top of our flashing over that piece of wood and out and down to the outside. So that's an area that we can try to address for you. You've got exterior porches. You've got shingles that just go bad. I've seen windows leak on exterior porches that we've had to tear them apart. I've had people have water blow in through the screens in the screen porch, land on the floor, and then run back under the wall. And they didn't use pressure-treated lumber, and there was no opportunity for drainage and drying, and we're winding up taking apart the whole inside bottom wall underneath the screen porch in order to fix this. So if you're building a screen porch, it'd be nice if you had some drainage in there, maybe a little drain that goes to underground thing. Can we pitch this? Can we use, put a piece of plastic down. Take like an AZEK 1x4 and put that down first. Put your pressure-treated lumber on top of that. And that way, if water does get underneath the wall, and then make sure your construction materials, your plywood, your OSB on the outside, in this case, I think they had beadboard on the inside. Like, don't let any of that stuff touch the bottom. Keep it a ½ inch off the bottom. That's another way to help protect things. So, other places that water leak. We have, Tracy put a link down here to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CopeBuilt. There is a roofing playlist with, I think, 50 videos in there. There is an exterior water leaks playlist that covers the dormers and the roof-to-wall interfaces and the lack of Housewrap on some homes behind the siding and some of those other challenges. Let's talk about stucco, brick, and stone. We've had a couple of recent conversations with folks about that. Guy had a stone chimney. Didn't tell me at the time what the previous answer was. We got up there, we played with it, we took a garden hose. I'm on this 12-12 roof spraying this thing for probably close to an hour. And eventually we make it leak, but it's not in any one particular location that makes it leak. It was just kind of a saturation thing. Tracy's throwing some of our playlists down here in the comments. So Tracy, if you can tell them which playlist that is, because it doesn't give you a thing on this end to tell you whether that's the roofing or the exterior or whichever. So we were spraying it for an hour, and I finally said, you know what? I don't know that it's a problem with the mortar in any one specific spot. I'm guessing that just whatever waterproofness the mortar and the stone once had has leached out, evaporated, been eaten away by the minerals in the water getting there over time. There's got to be some sort of a penetrating or a stone sealer that we could put on this. And then he tells me, oh, well, 7 years ago I had an Amish guy come out and spray my chimney. Maybe it's just time we do that again. Yes, maybe it's time we do that again. Well, that was a good education for me. That was a couple years back now. And we recently had someone call us off of Oxford Road, and she was having a first floor window leak in stone with windows above. And so we had she was very concerned about mold in her child in the child's bedroom. So we went upstairs and we drilled 2 5-inch holes in the exterior wall through the drywall just to check, because taking stone down is very expensive. So just to check, and we pulled the insulation back, and I didn't see any water damage on the inside of the OSB. Nothing that told me she was having a massive problem upstairs. It was all on the first floor. Okay. So we went outside and we did the garden hose thing, and I couldn't make it leak. I couldn't make the window leak. I couldn't make the grout around the window leak. And so I asked her to tell me more about the problem, and she goes, well, it really only occurs when we have 3 straight days of rain. Okay, it's a saturation issue. I went back to this experience that I had on the guy's roof, and sure enough, I wrote her a contract for what it was going to take for us to protect all the windows, because you don't want to get this product on the plastic, protect her other roof, her gutters, her strawberry bushes, all the things. And then we set up a spray rig to be able to spray the special masonry sealant onto all of the stone in the front of the house. This worked like car wax. It went in, it absorbed in beautifully, and then within 30 minutes when I hit it with the garden hose, the stuff just beaded water back to the surface. I blew my mind. I'd heard of this stuff, I hadn't actually used it before. And sure enough, the next massive rainstorm, we like texted her or called her the next day on Facebook Messenger. We're like, hey, so did it work? Did you have any more leaks? And she was thrilled that there was no problems in that massive storm that we had. So if you've got stone on the front of the house, if you've got stucco, sometimes there are cases where it makes sense to apply a waterproofer to that. With stucco, we use a product called Luxon XP. It's sold at Sherwin-Williams. Yes, you can buy it. Yes, you can apply it yourself. The times I typically called are when they're 30 and 40-foot chimneys and people don't have rigs and ladders or want to get on a skylift that high. So we've had a couple jobs where I've taken skylifts up and we're either painting the crown on top of the chimney or maybe painting the whole chimney itself. There's been a couple of different cases where we've gotten into fun stuff with masonry sealers. And then I recently used a product called Radon Seal to get the smell of cat pee out of 4-inch thick concrete in a rental property. After trying many other products and many other different approaches, the Radon Seal acted like, a teenager with pimples where the oil bubbles to the surface and pops out. This penetrating sealer got in there, pushed all the impurities out of the concrete, and within 10 days, the concrete had just turned white. We swept it up. I tried to apply a second coat. It almost didn't absorb in. No more problems with the cat pee. Well, then we took shellac from Sherwin-Williams and hit it again for real, just belt and suspenders. And we put a flooring in, and there's tenants in there, there's no problem. So learned a lot of cool things about concrete and masonry sealers. So we'd love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tracy's putting links in here to some of the specific water damage playlists. And if you tell me what's going on at your house and what kind of leak you're having in this massive storm we're having outside right now, I'd be happy to try to point you towards one of those resources that might be appropriate. Let us know which corner to take. We can get a screenshot from Google of the aerial view of your house and which corner is it coming in, where's the problem at. Because sometimes a lot of times people are like, well, how are you going to estimate this virtually? So we have a whole virtual estimates video on our copebuilt.com website that tells you how we do this stuff, but what pictures we're looking for, inside out, wide shots. We have a lot of experience. What's the farmer's commercial? I know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. When you show me an exterior picture of what's going on, it's really pretty easy a lot of times for us to just go through our mental library of all the other things that have been happening and kind of dig back and just take a guess as to what is going on. What are you doing, Riley? Silly puppy dog. Don't be chewing on that. So we can kind of go through and take an educated guess as to what's happening and what's going on with those different pieces. So I completely lost my train of thought. If somebody wants to throw in the comments what I was talking about before I went and got my dog to stop digging at whatever she was digging at. I lost it. It's gone. And now I'm going to go pick her up again because she's being annoying. So exterior water leaks, stonework. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. How do we know what's going on? So if you can let me know, we can look at an aerial view. You can take it or we can take it. Once we have your address, it's amazing. Zillow keeps photos from people buying houses from years ago. So I had somebody call me up and say they're having a problem. I actually found a picture on Zillow of the inside of the house and identified which corner it was. He was calling because he was concerned the ceiling was sagging and that it was a low spot. And should he tear the drywall down and pay us to look to find out what's going on and if this is a problem? And so we were on the phone for a couple minutes, and I'm looking at these pictures on Zillow, and then we suddenly realized, wait a second, the second floor wall is recessed back about 4 or 5 feet from the front wall of the house. And it's directly over where this low spot is in the living room ceiling. Maybe that's the source of what's going on, and maybe it's always been that way. You know, we can talk about whether the beam runs this way or whether that there's joists there, and get a stud finder and figure some things. So I talked him through things. But rather than pay us to come out and figure that stuff out, just by looking on Zillow, I was able to take an educated guess and have a phone call with him and point him in the right direction and put his mind at ease that, oh, well, yeah, it really probably always has been this way. Just the nature of the design of how they put it together. So real estate websites are very helpful. Street view on Google Maps is great, and satellite view, obviously. So with those tools, a lot of times, unless you got a lot of trees, we can look and I can kind of see where things are at. And we're going to ask you for a nice tall photo. Send us the whole front of the house, the whole side of the house, whichever, so I can see what windows are above that could be culprits, what gutters may not have kick-out flashing on that could be culprits, roof-to-wall interfaces that could be culprits, and try to take an educated guess as to why things are leaking. And then we can point you to the right resources here, like Tracy's putting in the comments down below to our Facebook page and to our Cope Construction website. So other types of leaks that we've dealt with. So you've got the windows. Okay, so here's one. My CPA actually hired us to come work on some at his house where they had water blowing into the windows. And these particular window styles, if you have a plastic jamb that you sort of compress in order to tip the windows in, I believe it was manufactured by a company called K&K. And we've got some in this house too, where the water was blowing down onto the lower wood sash and running to the left and running to the right and then soaking into this foam, and I mean yellow like couch foam, that they had put behind these plastic jambs that hold the springs and the strings to keep the windows up. So water gets into that foam and then wicks up, capillary action, wicks its way up that foam and rots out the whole bottom 2 inches of those window jambs. And sometimes if we get to it early enough, we can seal it with high performance wood putty. I can put some liquid flash or fluid applied flashing membrane on there, and we can address it that way, put it back together. Other times the window has to be replaced at that point. So, but those are things that we can look at and try to determine what we can do and what the right approach is for that. But the most important thing is to make sure that if those windows are capped, that the capping is maintained, that the caulk is maintained, that you're not letting water get into places that it shouldn't get into. So, all right, windows, doors. I'm trying to think of any other cool door stories that we have. But bottom line, if you've got a leak right now, drain the water, punch a hole in the drywall, let it go into a bucket, contain it, control it. Go ahead and call your agent. I wouldn't call the 800 number. I'd call your agent and have a hypothetical conversation with them. Make sure you're using the right words, the right terminology, asking the right questions. We don't want to talk about having a flood. We might want to be talking about having an accidental discharge of water. We might want to talking about a roof leak. Hi. Stop it. Hi. And we just want to be careful. Was it a sewer and drain backup? Was it flooding from outside? How was the water getting in, and making sure you're saying the right things, that you didn't get your claim denied before you even get started. And that's where I found public adjusters are really helpful in teaching us to say the right things and actually just letting them handle it for us. They do take a percentage, but sometimes that's money well spent because you're getting stuff covered that would not have gotten covered or might have gotten denied. Because I had one very popular name brand as seen on TV insurance company claims adjuster say, "So you found rot, right?" No, I found water damage. And if you ask me a leading question like that again, trying to get me to say the wrong thing to get my client's claim denied, I will end this phone conversation right now, and I'll be giving them the name of a public adjuster. So I don't play nice with folks that try to find ways to deny, delay, and defend against paying when they owe you money. I know somebody else who is an actual agent for a reputable insurance company, and her claim is getting completely trashed and denied by her own company, which I just find completely ridiculous. But that's a whole other story for a whole other day. So we'll see how that one shakes out. So let's talk about insurance. So if you go to my website, copebuilt.com, click on resources in the upper right, click on home improvement articles. Then you will see at the side on your computer, at the bottom on your mobile, you will find a list of categories. And one of those categories is insurance. And you can click on that. And I have 2 different articles that go very in-depth. One of them about storm chasers and being aware of storm chasers who might show up at your front door and say, "Oh, we had hail on that storm and we can get you a free roof." Right. Sometimes they can. But when a year from now, when that new roof has a leak and that storm chaser is moved on and is 5 states away and you have a problem, can you get hold of them to get them to fix it? Did you get a certificate of insurance from them? There's a lot of buyer beware stuff in that article, but there's also some good information in the other one about an interview that I did with a public adjuster on what to say and what not to say when you're talking with your insurance company. He was very educational. So if you think you have a claim, it's worth looking at those 2 articles before you call the 800 number. And like I said, don't call the 800 number. Call your agent first and have a hypothetical with them and make sure you're saying the right thing. All right, door stories, dormer stories. So a lady called us because she had a waterfall, a literal waterfall in her living room from her dormer leak, a dormer that was leaking. And we went out, she sent us videos, it was tremendous. We went out the next couple of days and took it apart and found out that they had simply done the capping in the wrong, the flashing in the wrong sequence, and they had wrapped something around that shouldn't, so the water was running downhill and getting caught and funneling right into this. So I have about a 12-minute kind of Facebook Live video over on that exterior water leaks playlist that walks through the entire, here's me taking it apart, here's what we found, here's how we're going to fix it so it doesn't leak again. And then the following video is the interior remodel. And then she actually gave us a very nice video testimonial in our client testimonials playlist that you can check out. So, leaks, door leaks, brick leaks, stucco leaks. So the one stucco leak that's on it, we have a playlist on. That one turned out to be a reverse. They put the step flashing in the wrong order going up the roof, and one of them was backwards, so it was allowing water in. But to get into that, to fix it, we had to take apart the siding. And then the guy had gotten it was a good quality roof, but you could not physically separate the shingles. There was so much adhesive on it. I couldn't get it apart to save it for him. And I said, look, we just have to redo this whole section of roof because I can't, the shingles are not allowing me to break them apart separately. So we took the whole shingle off. We put ice and water shield up that side, took 8 inches of stucco off, got new step flashing, put a board in there, got some Z flashing over the board, layered the Housewrap back over that, had a stucco crew come back and stucco back. Now, anytime that roof ever gets replaced, because we built it out with a 2x4, they will forever be able to easily replace the step flashing, and there's a cavity underneath there for drainage and drying. So it's bulletproof going forward, and if and when that roof ever has to be replaced, the next roofers will be singing our praises and thanking us that we made it so easy for them to do it. Unfortunately, to get to that point, the customer had to spend a lot of money to get the stucco taken apart and seamlessly put back together so that it looks really good. So if you've got one of those, here's the challenge with stucco when you have a water leak. If you have a water leak in this corner and someone fixes this corner, and then you have another water leak somewhere else, or maybe I fixed something up here, and now you have a water leak shows up down here. Well, is it my fault that you have a water leak down here, or is it from this guy over on this side? Who did that work? Once the stucco guy touches something, there's a sense that they own it. So most guys want to do corner to corner on one face of the house so they can take responsibility for that and say, we know that we did everything right. Now, I do have a stucco guy who is willing to do smaller patches, and we recognize there may be some liability with that, but they're very confident in their work. Their craftsmanship looks amazing. They think about water the same way I think about water. Gravity works 100% of the time. Water flows downhill. And so we like to get these flashing layers right, and he and I will banter on Facebook at each other's work, and it's great. So shout out to those guys. They're phenomenal. So if you do have a stucco problem, we do have a team that can help us solve that, but usually it's never that simple. It's the stucco plus the drywall plus this other thing. So we work together with our other strategic partners to help make stuff happen. And I've got a huge network. Thursday morning, I'm in a networking group where I'm in both Chamber of Commerce's here local in the bottom of the county here. I've got some good friends over at the BNI group. There's different people that we've worked with on a regular basis who have helped a number of our clients before, who have referred clients to us, who said great things about the people who are making the referrals. So I typically only recommend people that I have either firsthand knowledge with, or one of our clients had really great things to say about them. So if you have a problem, even if it's outside of the work, the scope of construction, feel free to hit us in our messenger, wherever that thing is, and send us a question. And I know we've already had somebody on here tonight from a couple of states away up in New York. If you're not in our service area, I am not opposed to answering questions here on Facebook or responding to questions on our YouTube channel and trying to help point you in the right direction. I don't necessarily have contractors to recommend in other states, but I can at least tell you what you ought to be looking for, what to be listening for. We have multiple blog articles and videos on how to properly screen a contractor for work on your forever home, and what does that look like, and what do you need to be looking at, and what questions should you be asking, and how to verify a certificate of insurance to make sure it's actually legit, like it's real, and to make sure they didn't cancel it before you pay them the final check. And some of the scams that some of the con artists who call themselves contractors will try to run on you. And there's ways to check court records first to make sure they don't have like 5 lawsuits against them. So lots of random ideas that we can help point you in a direction in. If you know somebody who's experiencing an exterior water leak tonight, we've already gotten 4 messages here on Facebook, and then Nina messaged in from New York, so that's 5. If you know someone who's getting drenched in this downpour, take a picture of what's bugging you, send it to us here on our Facebook page, click that contact us button wherever it happens to be. We are a Pennsylvania registered home improvement contractor, number 88078, also licensed in Newcastle County, Delaware, the number GC5534. So permit endorsed and everything we need to do big projects in Delaware. Not in Maryland. Things were very challenging there, and it just didn't seem to make sense. So we haven't gone the route of trying to get licensed in Maryland. We just don't work down there. So we got plenty to keep us busy. We're getting 80 calls a month. So there's lots of work to keep us busy up here. I don't need to go looking for it in 5 other states. I'm happy to cross the line into Delaware just because we are so close, and we do know some people down there. So. But if we can solve a problem for you, there's nothing our team doesn't handle. Roofing, siding, windows, doors, decks, gutters, drainage, kitchens, bathrooms, basements, flooring, plumbing, electrical, drywall, spackle paint, build you a custom dream home, in addition, a garage. Let us know what problem we can solve for you. Take a picture, send it to us on our Facebook page, click that contact us button there at the top, go to our website, copebuilt.com, click on the Our Process button, work through those videos, and learn what it is like to work with our team and have us guide you on the journey from idea and conception to your completely renovated forever home. And if you are having a home repair emergency like a leak situation like this, hopefully we've got a bunch of videos here that will help point you in a direction for what that looks like. You can reach us by phone at 484-748-7708. We have a dedicated office staff standing by to answer your calls weekdays, 9:30 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. You can message us 24/7 here on Facebook. Our YouTube channel, of course, is always live. And there's nothing that we don't do. When it's too hard for everybody else, it's just right for us. Your only complaint will be, how come no one told us to call him sooner? When we're finished with it, you're going to be proud to say it's not just done. It was Cope Built. So we'll catch you guys on the next edition of Forever Home. Thanks so much for hanging out with us live here on this rainy Tuesday evening in the middle of January. And hopefully you're not experiencing water leaks at your house. But if you are, if you know someone who is, please tag us. Let us know. We'd love to have the opportunity to help them out, to make sure that not only we get it stopped, we figure out why it happened, and we make it so it'll never happen again. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye for now.